Hello and warm welcome to everyone. So, for today's episode of our HR Pathways podcast, we have Nimisha Dua with us. Nimisha is a seasoned HR leader with 14 years of experience across various industries like FMCG, consulting, fintech, and electric vehicles. She has held several leadership roles, including her latest as CHRO. An alumni of the London School of Economics, Nimisha has a strong track record of driving strategic outcomes through people. She is passionate about making organizations people centric and creating a workplace where an employee can thrive both professionally and personally. So, welcome to the show, Nimisha.
Thank you, Vidisha. Thank you for having me and really excited to be here today.
Yeah, we are excited too. So, Nimisha, since we're delving into your journey, can you please share a bit about your background, including your childhood and the journey that brought you to where you are today?
Yeah. Okay, happy to do that, Vidisha. So I've been born and brought up in Delhi, educated partly in Delhi and London. I am actually a qualified microbiologist from my primary qualification. And to get to HR, it's been a couple of career trajectories, but very, very fruitful ones. And I think through a lot of different career trajectories, you pick up a lot of transferable skills as well. So, like I mentioned, my primary qualification is that of a microbiologist. After my graduation, I worked for 2 years in hardcore brand marketing as a marketing manager. Then I went for my post graduation to London School of Economics, where I did a master's in management with a specialization in HR. And that's when my HR career began. I started as a manager OD and then grew up to ranks to become a vertical head and then eventually a head of HR. Now, with over 14 years of experience, as you mentioned, it's been quite a ride, and I'm still very passionate about what I do every day.
Okay, okay. So basically, as you mentioned, you started from microbiology, right?
Yes, yes.
So how was this transition happened, like from microbiology to HR?
Yeah, so after my microbiology, I think one of my career options was to go get into an MSc program, and I got through MSc in clinical immunology in Oxford University in the UK, and I had that offer. But at that time, when I thought about it and I envisioned myself, I was never a person who would have been very happy doing sonitary work in a lab. Okay, so I thought, oh my God, I can't spend the rest of my life in a lab. And hence I thought, what next? I should probably work for a while to figure out what I like. And it's a very interesting question you asked, because once I got my first job, that was a campus thing. And I told the interviewer there that, I think I'm very passionate about people, so I want to work in HR. And at the time, they gave me a very useful suggestion where they said that, you're just fresh out of college, you hardly know anything about how businesses and organizations work. If you directly get into HR, you will probably not be able to add value because you really don't understand the ground reality. And why don't you work on a business role for a couple of years, get some understanding, and then move to HR? So I think that's how I moved from microbiology to marketing and then to HR. While I always wanted to be in HR, but I think through this transition, I actually learned how to be a more valuable human resources leader by really getting to understand what happens on the ground.
Okay, great. Understood. So, what valuable lesson did you take away from your very first job experience?
I think from my first job experience, I was 21 when I first started working, still fresh out of college. And the first thing that I really took out from there was that you could be talented, you could have skins, or you could not have skins, but there is really no substitute for hard work. I mean, in today's day and age, knowledge is so freely available. You can pick up anything from the internet, learn so much, but you still need to put in the hard work. And hard work also needs to be done consistently. It cannot be done in sprints and then you just chill. So you take small steps, but it's so important to be consistent in what you do. The second thing, when you're that young and when you are in your first jobs or the first couple of jobs, in fact, I think you should be very, very open to learning. you should almost be like a sponge. You shouldn't have fixed ideas that, oh, I read this off the internet or I've heard this, and, always be like a sponge, be open to learning, absorb everything, understand what's happening around you. I think those things are very important. And thirdly, especially now that we work in a more hybrid and remote environments post COVID, it's very important to still continue to maintain the right professional and the work ethic, right? Even if you're not in the same physical space, always be honest towards work, have the right set of values and attitude towards work. This will really help you build that trust and credibility, which is something which will take you really far in your career. I think these are some of, and it sounds very cliched and basic, but it's so easy to forget some of these things and try to do, oh no, you see on these quotes these days, right? Do smart work, not
Yeah.
hard work, and things like that. But it's important to do smart work, but these are some old age principles that add real value. Like hard work can really not be substituted, and always keep the right attitude towards work. I think when I was even though I didn't want to be in the marketing at that time, I learned so much, and I never thought that, oh, this is not what I want to do, or why am I doing this when my aspirations are in another field. I feel always have that right attitude that no work is big, small, good, bad. You should always approach work with that kind of a sanctity. So I think a couple of very basic things, but very important things that really help you shape your career.
So true, so right. So moving on to the next question. So, what aspect of your current job do you enjoy the most, and which part do you find challenging?
I think as I've grown up in the role and through their hierarchy, I feel that an aspect I really enjoy now is that because of the role and the position, you are able to make a greater impact, right? And I think that's a very, very valuable and a very interesting position to be in, because then what you do affects and matters to a lot of people, right? So if you're making the right policies, you are driving the right cultural changes. While if you're young and new in the organization, maybe you can't do as much, but in some of these roles, there is a significant opportunity to make an impact, which I really enjoy. What I find challenging, I think I pretty much love all aspects of the role. I'm very, like I mentioned, very passionate about what I do. But yeah, sometimes it's just challenging to keep a lot of different stakeholders and their interests in mind, and to basically get them together and to move in a common direction. Sometimes that can be a bit challenging, but still interesting nevertheless.
Any tips? How do you deal with this challenging part of your job?
I think when you have to keep in mind the needs of different stakeholders, one important aspect, and which any HR professional should have, is the ability to step inside a stakeholder's shoes and understand what are their concerns and what are their problems, right? Because if you don't understand that, why founders' concerns will be different than a CEO's concerns, different than a AVP's concern, and different than a last mile delivery boy's concerns, you will not be able to effectively come up with interventions that could help the organization as a whole, right? And when you are developing macro HR policies, processes, culture, values, you need to think of the organization as a cohesive whole, and then design and develop and execute interventions with that mindset. So for that, you first really need to understand that what each of the other each of the stakeholders' concerns are, and have basically empathy for everybody. Because if you're not able to have that quality of empathy where you're you it's not a superficial thing, right? You cannot do it that, oh god, I'm listening to you, but in your heart and mind you really don't care. So you have to genuinely come from a place of caring and being genuine about wanting to understand their concerns. And the other is always listen. Keep your ears open. Listen to what's happening on the ground. Listen to what stakeholders are saying, suggestions, feedback, and just don't listen, like I said, for as a checklist item. Listen to understand what are they trying to, get through. And people might not be as articulate, in sometimes even identifying their own needs. But if you listen very closely, you will be able to,
understand.
articulate.
Exactly. So as an HR professional, that's very important to be able to listen and to understand the requirement or the problem or the individual. That is what you're trying to say, right?
Yes.
So, any key lesson you have learned throughout your career that you would like to share with the audience?
I think as it's been now over 14 years. Then we're a lot of ups and downs in your careers. Then we're a lot of challenges. Sometimes you even doubt your ability to do certain things. But I think one should always take challenges, view them proactively, and not as problems, but as opportunities to make an impact, to do something different. So I think always look at any challenges that you face in your career journeys as opportunities to grow out of your comfort zone, to do something better, and to actually create a visible impact. The other thing, especially for HR professionals, have a very, very solid business understanding. I mean, I can't really emphasize this enough. I think while it's very important to be a people oriented person, and most people that I see who choose HR as a professional enjoy working with people and have qualities of empathy, of listening, etc. But it is so important in today's day and age to get a seat on the table with the business, understand the business, see where you can drive an impact through people. Because business and business is nothing without its people, right? An organization is just an entity, and it's people who make it a living, breathing concept. So, and if the people managers and the people leaders don't understand business, they will not also know how to drive their people in that direction. So, business understanding is very, very important. And after you've the third thing probably is that never stop learning. I think the world is rapidly advancing. It's very important to upskin, reskin yourself. And sometimes what happens when you have a certain number of years of experience under your belt, you become a bit complacent. You think like, oh, I know it all. I've done this so many times. But I think there's always a better way of doing things. And especially in today's day and age where everything is advancing so rapidly. So have that mindset that, I don't know it all and I need to continue to learn and keep learning. And there are just multiple avenues to learn: internet, online, mentors. It's very important to have a mentor, and also learn with the people who are working for you. So you always don't need to learn from people who are higher above you in the hierarchy, but also probably people who are lower down, and that's when you really learn, right? So some of these things are I think my key learnings.
I think it will be very helpful for our viewers. So moving on to the next question. So if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger self?
That's a good question. I think I tell my younger self to have more confidence. There is so many times you feel like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to do this, I'm able to do that. Be more confident, and is be more ambitious. I think sometimes you think, oh, should I apply for this job? They want somebody with 8 years of experience, but I just have 5. I think just be ambitious, apply for it, and you might have the skills that they are looking for. And it's not always a function of the number of years these days. It's the value you bring to the table and the impact you can create, the passion you have for your work. So I think I would tell my younger self. Also, I would tell my younger self that don't worry, everything will happen in good time. Because sometimes you feel, oh, this is not moving, that is not happening, but in time everything happens. So just take it easy, enjoy your work, and life and your career will shape in the best way possible.
Great. And also, like, what activities or hobbies do you enjoy in your free time?
So I am into fitness. So I do yoga, I do Pilates. I like to catch up with my friends and family quite often. I love reading. I am listening to music. I'm into art. So I don't draw and paint, but I love appreciating art. So I read about art a lot, and so yeah. So some of those things.
We are just left with the last question of our session. So that is like, what suggestion do you have for freshers who are aspiring to enter in human resource field?
I think one is that if you're aspiring to get into an HR career, I think just do a self reflection and self evaluation. That do you really enjoy working with people, right? Because this career is such that you can have demands from multiple stakeholders, multiple pressures, and it is something you should willingly get into. If human beings in general annoy you, then you might have a problem later in at a later stage. So you should genuinely have that passion. And for I think a lot of people think that HR is so simple and anybody can do it. What's there? You don't need any skills, but that's not true. You need a lot of skills, which are very soft skills, and hence HR ends up being a very practitioner dependent career. Right? There are no formulas. You cannot teach somebody empathy. You cannot teach
Exactly.
somebody patience. You cannot teach somebody compassion. Right? So make sure you have some of those qualities which are required to be successful in this career in the long run. And after you've done that evaluation, I think you're in a good space to start your HR career. But as you begin your HR career, never just think that you're just an HR professional. You have to think with a very business mindset, because you're there to add value to an organization through people. And if you don't understand what the business is, where is the money coming from, what is the business model like, how do we generate revenue, um, I I think you can really not make a very solid impact. And also understand your stakeholders. Go out, work in the market. If you are working in an FMCG, for example, and there are salesmen doing sales every day, feet on street. Go work with them, understand what's their everyday life like, shadow the senior leaders so that you understand that what are each of the stakeholders and what are their concerns. That's when you cannot make HR policies sitting in a closed cabin, right?
Exactly.
So be a more active HR professional who understands the business, who interacts with the business, who listens to what people have to say. And I think with your basic qualities in place and with this kind of a mindset, it's a great place to start an HR career, and then you really enjoy your journey. It's a as many people as you work with, people still have a way of delighting you and wowing you. And that's the thing with human beings, you can never really predict them completely.
Yeah.
So even after 14, 20 years of working, you can still be like, oh, this also happens. So I think it's a very interesting career like that. So yeah, that's some of my advice for the young folks.
Okay, so thank you so much. So with this, we come to an end of today's session. So thank you, Nimisha. Thank you once again for taking your time out. It was really fun and insightful session with you, and also you have a very inspiring career. And I'm sure our audience will enjoy this session. So before we end, I would like to request you to ask our audience to thrive and share our podcast.
Okay. Thank you, Vidisha, for your kind comments, and it was a pleasure being here as well. And guys, everybody who's listening to this, please subscribe and share. Because Vidisha is doing a great job at getting these messages out to all of you. And these are short, crisp, podcasts, and you never know what you might pick up, and that might just be the game changer for you in your career journey. So please like, subscribe, and keep listening to her and the future podcasts.